Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. I'm here with my panda and Teresa, and we are here to discuss
Tom Hiddleston.
a show that was called Loki, but really, did we even see any Lokis in the show?
Oh, well, we saw plenty of characters called Loki.
But we didn't see any actual legitimate Loki portrayals. But we'll get into that. We don't need this to be very long because it's just really not worth our time at this point. But it took me 2 weeks to watch this episode because, well, maybe more like a week and a half. But I was traveling, and every time I would try to watch it while I was traveling, it just hurt my soul. And let me explain why. Because very shortly, within the first 5 minutes, there's a scene, just to set it up, in the last episode, they go through the mouth of Goliath, basically, and they get to the other side where they discover this fortress, and they're going to go into the fortress, and Sylvie, who has a grudge against the TVA, is all raring to go. I'm going to kill who was ever on the other side of this door. And then they both stop. Both Lokis stop, and the original Loki, who has just been reduced to a whiny boy toy, basically, he turns to her and says, What's going on? Why are we waiting? And she says, I just need a minute to get my head on straight. What?
It was very odd.
What?
It was very odd. I was
What
taken
is
aback, like,
this?
what's going on?
What is this? It was extremely slow. There was little to no action. It was all about this, basically this mind game that the guy on the other side, who apparently is a version of Kang the Conqueror, he's basically playing a mind game with them that they have the option to take over the TVA themselves and run it, or they can kill him and his counterparts on the timeline that are so much worse and are like the actual legitimate Kang the Conqueror will end up taking over.
Well, it was...
Which is the only good part of the whole episode. And so to those of you, I've spoken to a few of you who have said that they really liked that element. And yes, that element would have been great. I just feel like they had a great idea and they had a really bad execution of that idea, largely because they had a director who wanted to do her own thing and didn't understand the material and didn't really care about the material she's working with.
Here's the
and
thing.
Hang on. And then they took basically the fantasy of Tom Hiddleston crushes and reduced Loki down to what that is, and then Sylvie is basically the self-insert character
Absolutely.
of Sylvie. So Teresa, why don't you take it?
Well, I want to say first, I definitely think that there was an element of trying to appeal to the Loki crush era and get that back. One of the
Which
big...
is so 2015.
Listen to what I am saying. One of the big evidences of that is, so the shippers, they've now come back in full force, just as Marvel had what do you call it? Foreseen.
Just to say it, foreseen.
And they have their little shipper names, what's it called? Sylvie and Loki ship, what's it called? Silky. Yeah. And then they have Mobius and Loki, Lokius. One of the titles for one of the, what do you call it? One of the soundtracks is Lokius. So I'm like, they planned this, and they planned a hashtag.
Yeah.
They planned all this out. And that, it just fails, because even if it had...
Sylvie is not, like, I was ready to give her a chance, especially within the first 2 episodes she was in. I was ready to give her a chance because I liked the character of Lady Loki. I like the concept of it, and I honestly, I get it. It's a funny joke to have Loki, the only person he could fall in love with is himself. That's funny.
They don't play it like that,
They don't play it like that.
They don't, because it would be interesting if we got, like, actual Lady Loki with black hair, very sinister, very conniving.
And he's just completely enamored and manipulated by her.
Yes.
That would have been funny.
There needs to be
sense.
there needs to be a dark element to it. And when you admit that dark element, then the weirdness of 2 Lokis falling in love, the audience is going to be more along with that, because the story is saying, yes, it is dark and weird.
Right.
This story isn't doing that.
It's almost like Sylvie is a completely separate character that's not Loki, because she doesn't have the personality of Loki whatsoever.
Yeah,
she's about vengeance. That's not what Loki is necessarily about. there's an element of that to him, but that's not the entirety of his character.
Well, yeah, but what's the problem with Sylvie? She's the self-insert character because she's not necessarily a bad person. She's just super smart and super amazing.
Yeah, and she's always better than the original Loki.
Yeah, and I hate when they have to tear down the other characters just to make her look good.
I hate it when, in order to have a female character in a show, I hate it when they then have to tear down the male characters who have already been built up with these great abilities and personalities. Now we have to tear them down in order for the women to do better. That's kind of sexist.
So we've had 3 Disney Plus Marvel shows. We had WandaVision that was really good until it teetered off with the Ralph Boner stuff and all that at the end. Then we had Falcon and Winter Soldier, which was mainly torn apart, I would say, by ideology because of how they had to change characters and things just to fit the ideology.
Yep.
This one isn't either of those. It just feels like Kevin Feige, I know, is more involved with this. It feels like he had pillars set up. Okay, this is what I want this show to do.
Right.
And then they hired a director, I would assume based on gender, who does not know how to do sci-fi, who does not know how to do these shows. And they hired her, and the middle just fell apart. And that's why I think that there are just these, like, setting up Kang. Marvel fans really like that, but everything else...
That was the only thing that Marvel fans liked. Because it was the only thing that actually respected the material and gave us what we were looking for. This other stuff, nobody asked for a Tom Hiddleston, the Notebook style.
That's a good thing to say. No, Tom Hiddleston, the Notebook style. So this director, Kate Herring, her big credit is she did Netflix show Sex Education. And if you would like to know, they apparently that there was a cutscene that Disney and Marvel would not let them do, where Loki tries to escape the TVA, and then there's a montage where he has bisexual and alien sex. Oh, this is the woman who was on chart. She's not coming back, by the way. This lady is not coming back on season 2. So if so the people,
clearly she had an agenda far outside the bounds. I think
that she was saying, let's do stuff like this, and Disney Marvel was like, no, this is not Disney Marvel.
This will ruin our franchise.
This will,
this is a kid's show.
Yeah, Marvel has set up a family-friendly brand, and Disney has set up that brand. They're like, you are not doing this, and that just, it amazed me. I think
Why did they hire a director?
I think that Marvel is under a lot of pressure and under threat. People have speculated that certain executives are under threat to do these things.
Yeah.
So this is what's happening.
I would suggest that it perhaps isn't as much of a threat as it is they're being told that they're not going to get the investments that they want. They're being told that they're not going to get the money. It always comes down to money with these things.
Yeah, but I just wanted to throw that example because I know some people are defending the show. When you go to the behind the scenes stuff that's leaking out, you know, oh, this was a cluster behind the scenes. And maybe it was with things that were set up, it was all they could do to give us like a boring show versus even worse stuff. That they wanted to do with this show.
It's just really unfortunate because they set it up. I thought the visual elements of the show were fantastic. I thought the soundtrack was great.
The trailer looked amazing.
Yeah. And what is it with Marvel? Oh, I was just talking about how great that trailer for Age of Ultron was, and then the movie didn't live up to those expectations either. But certainly not. Here's the bottom line. I love the Kang idea, and I love the mind game idea in the finale. Why couldn't, but that's like 10 minutes of the episode. It's just all this silliness with Loki and Sylvie, and like, why couldn't we just focus on the darker elements? I don't understand. And I'm not talking about the dark elements like what that director wanted to do. I'm talking about the personality of Loki that is vengeful. I loved elements like, I love the idea Kid Loki he killed Thor, and then there's a classic Loki who I like the actor who plays him. I liked the idea of Loki running for president, which is what I thought when I saw the trailer. I thought that Loki was going to live.
There's a comic about that. There's a Loki runs for president comic in a universe.
Well, I thought that what they were actually going to do in this show was have Loki live multiple lives on behalf of the TVA, doing missions for them. And I thought he was going to run for president in one of the versions. And I thought we were going to see him in another, be the James Bond character that we saw in the first episode. I thought that was actually
Tom Hiddleston, I'll give him credit. I think he does his best with what he's given.
Yes. I would suggest he's one of those people, and I've never worked with him, so I don't actually know. But from what I've seen of his work, he definitely gives his best and gives 100% to his characters, or 95 at least. Unlike somebody else who's just trying to phone it in. But he was not given a lot to work with, so we can't really blame him on this level, and it's not really his fault that he's also aged 10 years and he's just not gonna fulfill those same fantasies, girls. You gotta give up. You gotta give it up.
Would you say this
Grow
is
up.
the worst Marvel Disney Plus show, or is that Falcon and Winter
Falcon
Soldier?
and Winter Soldier. There's nothing there is nothing worse than Falcon and Winter Soldier. When he gets up and gives that speech at the end, there's nothing worse than
it's gonna be
I don't actually know anything of what I'm talking about.
But listen to me anyway.
But you have to do what I tell you to do. And they actually present for him legitimate scenarios where his ideology would not fit, and he says, well, maybe it's good that I don't know what I'm talking about. What? Who wrote this? All right, well, we are about to go and see Black Widow for the second time for me, third time for her. Excuse me, that was my Lindsey Graham impression coming out. But thank you guys for watching this episode and for putting up with us. I'm sorry that this particular video is so late. I was gallivanting across the country
on a horse,
literally. But if you guys like the video, please like the video, subscribe to the channel, ring the bell to get notifications, and comment below what you guys thought of the show. This show, every show. We could call it a show, but this turd that was left on my doorstep that I just was digging through looking for an M&M. Yeah, that's just how I feel. Anyway.
Bye.
Talk to you guys later.